for today's lesson. That will be about basic needs and wants. But before we're going to start with the lesson, let's just greet each other in the chat box. Right, as I said, people, today's topic is about basic needs and wants. That is what we're going to look at. So let's start with the lesson. The outcomes for today. So what we want to see is basically three things that we are going to look at. The first thing is the basic needs of individuals. Then we're going to look at primary and secondary needs. And then the third thing that we're going to look at is unlimited wants and limited resources to satisfy the needs and the wants. So that will be the outcomes for today. Basically those three things. So the basic needs of individuals, primary and secondary needs, and unlimited wants and limited resources regarding needs and wants. Right, but let's start with needs and wants and what is the difference between them. Right, needs is something to be a necessity or an essential item required for life. For example, food, water, and shelter. So it's something you have to have. So you need it, you have to have it. That is going to be needs. I mean, you cannot live without a shelter or a house. You cannot live without food. You cannot live without water. So you need those things. While wants is things that we can live without but like to have. So it's something you would like to have. It is not absolutely necessary, but it would be a good thing to have. Okay, so you want it, but it's not really a need. Okay, you don't need it. It's just you like it and you want it at the end of the day. So please note the difference between it, because every time you're going to compare these two with each other. So what do you really need in life and what do you want in life? Right, then we get into the primary and the secondary needs. Primary needs, they say, are biological or physical needs that are essential to life. For example, food, water, clothing, and shelter. So remember, we have said what is needs? Needs is something that you need. You cannot be without it. You cannot be without food. You cannot be without water, etc. Okay, now the biological or the physical needs that we call primary needs. Okay, and that is, for example, the food, the water, the clothing, and the shelter. On the other hand, secondary needs are wants or acquired needs that are more likely desires. For example, safety, love, respect, creativity. So, I mean, we all want to be respected. We all want to be loved. We all want safety. So actually, you hear what I say, we all want it. So it's definitely a want, but actually some of it are actually needs as well. So it's a combination of wants and needs, and then that will fall under secondary needs. Excuse me. Right, so primary needs and secondary needs, please note what is the difference between it. If I can just go back to the previous slide. So first you need to understand what's the difference between needs and wants. Needs is something that you really need. You have to have it, like the food, water, shelter. Wants is something that you can live without. So you just want it. It's not a need at the end of the day. But then we're going to divide the needs in primary needs and secondary needs. And the primary needs is the biological or the physical things that you need in life, like the food, water, clothing, and shelter. So you can't be without it. Secondary needs is actually, you need it, but it is a want as well, like your safety, the love, respect, creativity. Why do consumers make the purchases they do? Now, first of all, you will see there's a triangle with some things in. Sorry, I couldn't change the font of those words, but the next slide, you will see it quite clearer again. But if I can go through those needs that you will see there in that triangle, then you will see we always start at the bottom. So from the bottom, it is psychological needs. Then the one just um, before that one is safety needs, social needs, esteem or self-esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. Now, what do we call this triangle of needs? Okay, there was a person with the name of Abraham Maslow. He developed these needs, and he actually started with these triangle to put the needs in. So you will see at the bottom of that triangle, there is a subheading that is saying Maslow hierarchy of needs. And then on the left hand side, there's just a little bit more information. Maslow, it was developed in 1954 by Abraham Maslow, this triangle, and it ranks the needs in order of importance. Not everything in the hierarchy is necessary for survival. Needs at the bottom need to be met first. And there are 5 levels of Maslow's hierarchy. So, first of all, they're going to ask you in an exam to draw the triangle of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So then you must do it exactly like what you see in front of you. So there are 5 levels. You always start at the bottom, okay? Again, as I said, you will see it again, those words better on the next slide. But from the bottom, it is psychological, safety, social, esteem, or sometimes they talk about self-esteem, and the top one is self-actualization needs. And as I said, it was developed by Abraham Maslow in 1954, and it is in order of importance, and the most important one, you start at the bottom. So the psychological one is basically the most important one. And then you don't need all 5 these levels to survive. You're definitely going to need some of the bottom ones, but the other ones is not really necessary. Right, this again on the next slide, there you can see the triangle a little bit better with the words. So if we first going to look at the triangle again, remember I said there's 5 levels. Okay, this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We start at the bottom, that is psychological needs. Then you have your safety needs, your love and belonging needs, your self-esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. Now, what is this Maslow hierarchy of needs? So what is this triangle all about? So at the top, I'm telling you there, Maslow hierarchy of needs is a motivational theory in psychology comprising a 5-tier model of human needs, often depicted as hierarchical levels within a pyramid. So it's in a triangle form, right? From the bottom upwards. And as I said, the bottom one is the most important one. And then the needs, and you will see they start from the bottom, is psychological, safety, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. Right. So again, what will be the question? Remember, because I'm going to ask you to do it now. To draw the triangle of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there are 5 levels. The most important one is the bottom one. They are in a certain order, so you cannot chop and change it as you want. You need to keep in that order. What is the 5 levels? Psychological, safety, love of belonging, self-esteem, and self-actualization. So what is going to happen now is we're going to take each of those levels a little bit more in detail from the next slide. So right, so there we start with the psychological needs. That will form part of your primary needs. And you will remember we have talked about earlier about primary needs. Primary needs is your psychological needs, is things that you cannot be without. So the most basic needs that are vital to survival, such as the need for water, air, food, and sleep. So you cannot be without it. You really need it. You cannot be without food. You cannot be without water or air or sleep. Okay? So the most basic needs that you really need, that is forming part of your psychological needs or your primary needs. Then you get your secondary needs. These include needs for safety and security. Examples: steady employment, health insurance, safe neighborhoods, and shelter from the environment. So remember in the beginning I said, yes, needs is something that you have to have. You cannot be without it. We divide it into two groups, the primary needs and the secondary needs. The primary needs is just the previous slide. Remember, that is actually your psychological needs, things that you cannot be without it. And then the next level of Maslow hierarchy is going to be about safety and security. That will be an example of a secondary need. So you don't really need it. It's actually more of a want, because we all want to have security. We all want to be living in a safety shelter or house. Right, so remember now from the triangle, so we have done, going back, the bottom one, the psychological needs. The one after that is about safety and security. Now we're getting to the next level, that is about love and belonging. Now, love and belonging is including social needs like belonging, love, acceptance, and affection. More examples is like friendships, romantic companionship, involvement in social, community, or religious groups. So this is where basically you can think of friendship, love for another person, or love for your family, or just the feeling of belonging to a family, or acceptance in the family. So all those things forms part of this level of love and belonging. And then also you will think for yourself, is friendship, okay, it's actually not a good question, because you all will answer me, but man, we all need friends in life. Okay, but do you really need the friends in life? Or is it more a type of a want that you're going to have? So you don't really need them, okay? You can be without them, but definitely you will have, or you want a friendship at the end of the day. So this will, love and belonging will also form more part with the secondary needs. They say there's the need for personal growth without recognition or the opinions of others, interest in fulfilling one's potential. And that is the next level, that is about self-actualization. So self-actualization and actually the other level, self-esteem, those two is actually going together. That is about how you as a person is going to be, how involved are you going to be, for instance, in social life, um, what is meaningful for you in life, or what is vital for you in life. So those last two levels of self-esteem and self-actualization actually goes together, and that is all about the need of the personal growth of yourself. Okay, so how are you going to fulfill all the potential that you have, or the things that you really want at the end of the day? You can hear what I've said, what you want. So this will also be part of the secondary needs. It will be. Right, more info. They say consumers fit into one level of the pyramid, of the triangle. The level you are at determines and influences your consumer habits. Businesses need to recognize these needs and use them to identify their target market. So, right, so what do they mean by that? And I quickly want to go back now here to the triangle where you can see everything there. As I said, you don't need all these levels, but that will depend on person by person. Okay, for instance, let's say I will just have to need the psychological needs, so I need my home and my food and all those things, and I like safety. So basically, let's say I just need those two levels. But you, for instance, also need the level of longing, belonging, of love and belonging, and of friendship, for instance. So we are different people. We are going to be different target groups. And businesses need to know their target groups because that will depend on what they're going to sell and how they're going to sell it and if they're going to make money at the end of the day. So again, remember this is just a theory. It's Maslow's theory of needs, and depending of the 5 levels, but it will depend on what level you are. So what I want you is look at the triangle for the next minute or so, and just with yourself, think on what level or what levels are important for you. Are all 5 levels important to you, or are only the first level important to you? And remember, no one of us can live with the first level, the psychological level. So you must at least have that one. Okay? So think for yourself quickly, where do you belong to? Which level are you going to be? Okay, some people in the box is already saying they need all those 5 levels. So see, for instance, you two that replied there that you need all of those levels. Basically, you two will then be forming part of the same target group for a business. So I'm just going to give a few seconds more. Right, I can see some more people responding, and all of you are definitely in the same target group because you say you all need all 5 levels you need. Right, I'm just going back. Okay, scarcity. The basic economic problem that arises because people have unlimited ones, but resources are limited. Okay, so people is having unlimited ones because unlimited ones means today you want this, tomorrow you want something else. So it's unlimited, but the resources are limited. So the things that are involved with that unlimited want are actually limited. There are not enough resources in the world to satisfy the unlimited wants and needs of all people. And then with the next bullet, they refer to the total output from the economic. So you need to look what is the output of the economic to see what will be the limits. And then the last bullet is saying, however, it does not imply that the amount of resources or the state of technology is fixed. Now, these days, actually, this is going to change the whole time because especially the technology in our country that we have, and that is something that is changing every day. So according to the technology, our resources is also going to change, okay? And our resources is not so limited at this stage like it was in the past, although in the past we still got the unlimited ones at the end of the day. So again, unlimited ones against the limited resources. Remember, I've said in the beginning, it's going to be an outcome that we're going to look at. Unlimited ones, okay, is actually for me an economic problem because we just want things. We just want things. It's never stopping. It's unlimited. But the resources for those unlimited ones is limited. according to the economic and also referring to the technology in our country. Right. I'm going to give you quite a few minutes on these pictures that you see here. It is saying needs and or wants. And I want you to go through the pictures. If I can give you an idea, you will see there's a picture of a computer, a car, a cell phone, movie tickets. There's an MP4 player, house or shelter, food, jewelry, and there's food again. But that there's a difference. The one picture of the food, um, let's say the one next to the car, is basic food that you really need. And the other picture of the food there on the right hand side bottom is more a luxury type of thing, right? So what I want you to do is I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. So take your time, look at all these pictures. If you want to, you can write it on a piece of paper, and then you look at what do you really need from these pictures and what will be what. So you need to identify the difference between the needs and the wants. Oh, people, I'm actually laughing here on this side to see what you put there in the chat box. But I'm so glad that you guys communicate actually with each other. So that's very, very nice. So, your people, if I need to go through the pictures, all right, then I will say, oops, sorry, then I will say the laptop or the computer there, okay, is not a need, it is a want, okay. Although some of the businesses, that's actually a difficult one because businesses these days are all working on computers. So actually then it's starting to get a need these days as well. The car, and as you all talking about the transport, okay, look at the difference as also of the car that you see there. Most of us need transport to get to work or to get to different places. So actually a car will form part of the needs. But if you look at that sports car picture that you see there, then it's definitely going to be a want at the end of the day, because we all want a nice car like that, of course. So, but at this stage, it's a want, although if you have a very small car that can just take you from place A to place B, then you can see it as a need. Then the cell phone and the MP4 player and the movie tickets, they are all luxury things, it's things that we want. It's not a need to have them. Sorry, if we move to the right-hand side, of course, the picture of the basic foods and the house. That is an examples of needs, and then the jewelry is also examples of needs, and also the food. Okay, sorry, just hang on. Right, okay, guys, sorry about that. It's not my baby, okay? My children are big, but somebody was giving their baby today to me because they haven't got a place to send the baby. Okay, so sorry about that, people. All right. Um, okay, so what is important for today's lesson? Okay, and I quickly going to revise everything. Okay, so just hang on. I just want to go back. Okay, so you need to identify between the needs and the wants. Okay, that is important to know. Needs is something that you need. Wants is something that you want at the end of the day. It is not a necessary thing. Then you need to identify between primary needs and secondary needs. Primary needs is something that is biological or physical needs. You cannot be without it. It's essential to life, like your food, your watering, shelter, etc. Then your secondary needs is wants or acquired needs that are more likely desires, like your safety, love, belonging, respect, and so on. Why do consumers make the purchases they do? And they refer to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What is important? You need to draw that triangle of Maslow that was developed in 1954 by Abraham Maslow. There are 5 levels. The bottom level is the most important one. You cannot be without it. But you don't need all 5 levels to survive at the end of the day. And on that note, let's rather refer to this one. So the 5 levels is the psychological level, safety level, love and belonging, self-esteem, and self-actualization. So what is this Maslow hierarchy of needs? It is a motivational theory, and depending on the 5 levels of needs, and yeah, and they design it in the form of a triangle. Then we have taken each of those levels. The primary needs or the psychological needs is the most important one. You cannot be without that. Then your secondary needs is like your safety and your security. The third level is love and belonging. That's like friendship, romantic companionship. And then you've got your self-actualization. Okay, and those ones is just referring to the unlimited ones against the limited resources. And now I want to go back again. So what I want you to do is, I want you to draw on a piece of paper that triangle with the 5 levels, indicating the 5 levels. I will give you 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'm just going to ask you some questions. But then I'm going to take it away, so you're only going to have your piece of paper in front of you. Okay, so 2 or 3 minutes, draw the triangle. Right, I see somebody's asking what you must do. You must copy that triangle with the 5 levels of the needs, and then I'm going to ask you questions on that. Okay, so just for the next minute or two, I'm going to give you a chance so you can redraw that triangle with the 5 levels. Right. So what is going to happen is I'm going to ask you a few questions. You have the triangle in front of you, and I'm just going to take it away now. And then you don't have to put anything in the chat box. It is just going to be for yourself to see if you can answer it. Okay. But as I said, you don't have to put it in the chat box. Right. So if you look at the triangle, okay, what hierarchy of needs is that? So what is the name of the triangle? Okay, that will be Maslow hierarchy of needs. Now, it was developed by who? It was developed by Abraham Maslow in 1954. How many levels are there of needs? How many levels are there of needs? Right? It's 5. What is the bottom level of the 5 levels? So what one is the most important one? That will be your psychological level. What will be the third level of needs? The third level of needs. That is the one that is love or belonging. Right. What is the last two? That means the last two levels. They go together. So what are they normally? They are self-esteem and self-actualization. Right. Getting back to the bottom level, the psychological level forms part of which group? The primary group or the secondary group? That will be the primary group. Still back with the psychological needs will include what? That will include things like water, air, food, shelter, etc. Um, do you need all 5 levels to survive? Do you need all 5 levels to survive? No, you don't need it, depending on what person you are and how you're going to form part of which target group. Um, right, my last question, okay, you won't see that now in front of you, but my last question will be, what is the difference between needs and wants? What is the difference between needs and wants? Needs is something that you really need. It's a have to have, like your water, shelter, air, etc. Wants is something that you want. You don't need it, you just want it. Normally, it's your luxury things. All right, so people, basically, that is it for today. So what was important is that triangle, Maslow hierarchy of needs, and then to know the difference between needs and wants. They can, for instance, put pictures like this in an exam, and then they can ask you that you need to identify between the pictures what is falling under needs and which ones are falling under wants. Right, that's it for today. Any questions? All right, doesn't look like that. Okay, people, thank you for today. Then we will talk tomorrow again, guys. All right. All right, have a wonderful afternoon. Goodbye.